How we doing, everyone? Right, you joined me this morning on my local beach, which is just down the road from where I live. And bit of an impromptu session. My neighbour Ollie said that he was going out lure fishing in the morning, and I thought, why not? So I grabbed the old little conflict spinning rod, and we're going out for a quick wade before I start work. But you can see it's a beautiful morning. I don't know if you can pick it up, but up there in the sky still is the huge moon that we've had, and that moon has obviously resulted in a massive tide. I don't know if you can see behind me, but the water is miles away this morning. Back there is where the beach shingle is, and we're wading out, and we're going to go and have a little wade and see if we can find a bass. I'll be honest with you, conditions aren't looking great. The water clarity hasn't been there the last few days, and unfortunately, because of the tide so low, they're doing some, I don't know, to be honest, I've got no idea what they're doing over there, but they've got some diggers in the actual seabed, and they're digging something up. So it might be like an old sewage pipe or something like that. I think that's probably what it is. But yeah, they're doing some work down there. Be interesting to know what they're doing. Hopefully it's a repair, because we all know that there's so much sewage and crap being pumped into our ocean nowadays, that hopefully they're doing some good over there, which is what I'd like to think. It's a beautiful morning, and yeah, let's go and see if we can catch a few bass, shall we? Right, we can see just before we start wading now, Ollie's just having a few flicks around right in close in the edge, because sometimes early in the morning the bass will be right in the shallows, like ankle depth water, where they've chased in all the little bait fish and fry into the edges, and quite often you'll go stomping into the water to go and get out further up to your balls in water, and yeah, the fish are actually in sort of ankle depth water. So he's just having a few little casts before we head on out there, and yeah, then we're going to get wading out. But there's hundreds of gulls sitting up on the beach over there. They don't seem to be too interested in chasing anything this morning. They're all sat there. Either they've had an early breakfast and we've missed it, or yeah, or they're all waiting for some fish to turn up and we're a little bit eager. But let's go and have a few casts. Probably going to stick a pachinko on there, I think, a surface lure, just to make a bit of noise on the surface. It's not too lumpy out there, it's quite flat today, and with the water clarity not being great, I want a lure that's actually going to make a bit of disturbance and try and get their attention. So I think that's the way that I'm going to go. I think Ollie's got a soft plastic on there, one of the Western Sandy Andes I think it looked like. But yeah, let's go and see how we get on, have a little wade and just have a little play in the sea. Well, in the distance there, we've got a beautiful moon up there, and then there's a chap that's just inflated a kayak, like one of those blow up things from a bag, and he's just heading off fishing. He's a braver man than me, going out in a what is basically a balloon on that kayak, but yeah, fair play to him, he's off. See if we can catch some fish. At the moment we're not. We're trying hard. Right, so I just thought I'd talk us through a little bit about the retrieves that we're using. Because I'm using a surface lure, the pachinko, I'm trying to do what's called walking the dog, which is where you keep a steady retrieve going with the reel and then just tap the rod top with some pauses in between. And what that does is it makes the lure snake on the surface like it's an injured fish. And it's important to have those pauses and those stops, because that's the bit that makes the lure look as though it is dying, because it's actually stopping. It's like an injured fish is struggling to make a few kicks of the tail, and then it's stopping on the surface. And quite often that's when the bass will come up and hit the lure, is actually when you've stopped and you've paused. It's a different technique for soft plastics. Soft plastics, you want to sort of bounce along the bottom, or a nice steady retrieve, get those paddle tails working. But with these top waters, you just try and take it nice and steady, just disrupting the surface, getting the attention of the bass, and then trying to get them to come in and smash that lure on top. And there's nothing better than when you're working a lure like this, you're taking in the scenery, and all of a sudden you hear normally the splash first, and then the rod hoops over as the fish comes and grabs it. But you can see here, I'm just walking it into me. Just tap, 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 stop. Tap, 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 stop. There we go. And you can see here, just using the classic Pachinko 125. And that is my go-to surface lure. Let it settle when it lands. A few little taps. And then start the retrieve. Nice and steady. Just try to imagine that you're that injured fish. Now, keep the rod tip, I don't keep it straight up, I keep it off of the water. Just tap, 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 tap. Some people like to have their thumb on the front here. I tend to just find the balance point of the reel and the rod, and then just gently tap, tap, tap. Working that lure all the way into your feet. And especially if the water's coloured, like this is super coloured, this water, the fish could be taking it right up to your feet if you're standing still. Well, the lure fishing this morning hasn't been great. The water clarity is really coloured, which means there's only about a foot of visibility. And I thought what I'd do is I'll take this opportunity just to go through my lure fishing setup and what I take out of me lure fishing, because the idea of these videos is to try and encourage some anglers out there to go and try a different type of fishing. And this lure fishing is really simple. Ollie, who's behind me there, my neighbour, he's a carp angler by trade. He's just got into doing a bit of luring and sea fishing, and he's absolutely loving it. You can obviously spend as much money as you want on your kit. You know, my kit, I've got some quite nice equipment, I'm not going to lie, but you don't need to spend an absolute fortune. If you wanted to, a great brand to get started is H2O. They do some shoulder bags and hip bags and stuff like that. They've got some, I think the Hooligan rod, I think you can get a rod and reel for about 80 quid or something around that sort of price. But yeah, just check out one of the local lure shops, the tackle shops. You've got Prime Angling in Worthing, is a really good shop. You've got Lagoon Bait and Tackle over in Brighton, again a great shop for lure fishing. So just check out your local lure shop and go and get some advice from them. But I'll just walk you through what I suggest you have. First thing you're going to obviously need if you're going wading for bass is a set of waders. Now, I see some people walking around with some really expensive 300 quid fly fishing style waders. What I suggest you get if you're going out there and you are doing this for the first time is just a pair of hard wearing boot waders. So they've got the boots in them, so it's like a welly boot extended, like the vast ones that the carp anglers use. Yeah, absolutely perfect, something like that. Nice and easy to get on and off. They're durable, so if you're going over the rocks, if you did have a slip or you sit down on the beach, you're not going to rip them. And yes, the breathable lightweight ones are nice, but they're a lot of money. You need to replace them regularly, and if you're not doing it very much, I suggest going for the Vasses. The same goes for all of this equipment I'm talking about. Make sure you wash it off at home. You want to rinse it off with fresh water, get the salt off of it, because the salt will kill your waterproofs, your waders, your rods, your reels, your bags. So just rinse everything off when you get home, okay? Make sure you do that. Okay, so I've got waders. I have got a jacket, so a nice waterproof jacket. And a little tip for you is if you're wading, what I suggest you do is have your jacket over the top of your waders, not the other way around. Quite often as a carp angler or a coarse angler, what you do is you put your waders on and then you just go fishing, right? But if you have your jacket over the top of your waders, what it actually does is if there's any waves coming along that do come up and splash you, rather than the water going and filling your waders up, it gives you a protection and it gives you that skirt to stop the water getting inside your waders. So that's a little tip. I suggest you do that. Again, don't have to spend a fortune on a waterproof, but take something with you that is going to give you that bit of protection. I highly recommend. And then you are going to need, I'll get to the rod and reel in a bit, with some kind of bag. So here I've got my lovely Orvis, bring it around here, don't know if you can see it. You can see that one? Don't know if you can see it. I've got my GoPro in the way. Yeah, let's do that. Whee! Don't even know if you saw it then, but anyway, it's a Orvis hip pack. So this is actually a waterproof hip pack. It's really, really nice. It's comfortable, fits around my waist. It's got the shoulder strap as well. Everything can go on it. But again, just to get started, just get yourself a bag that will sit around your shoulders, but you want it to come up around your chest, around here. So you want to be able to sling it around and get it to around here. So like, go and find that old bum bag that you used to have when you were a kid, right? Go and find that and just use that to get started. Because you don't want anything around your waist, low down, that is not waterproof. Now, Ollie behind me found out the hard way about this, because he borrowed his dad's lure bag, he stuck it on, and then his lure got stuck on the reef the other night when we went out. Ollie waded out to go and retrieve it, and when he came back with the lure that got stuck, which was wicked, but he also came back with his dad's lures, tackle, and everything absolutely soaked to the bone. So I suggest you have something that sits nice and high. To be fair, this jacket has actually got some chest pockets which I can fit some lure boxes in. So if I am just coming out just for you know, just grabbing the rod, I can chuck some lures in one, forceps in the other, and off I go. So yeah, that's a little tip for the bag there. Obviously you want to be able to get to your equipment. So on my one, my equipment is on my right hand side. That's the side that I prefer it on, and then I have my net stashed on the left hand side. So as I'm playing a fish, if I was playing a fish, I can just scoot the net out of the belt system, put it down in front of me, and then I can net the fish. Again, when it comes to your net, I just suggest a simple pan net. Ollie's got a really nice one over there, a Westin one, didn't cost much, it just folds down, it's like a flick net, so you can just fold it back up. This one here is one of the Orvis floating nets. Again, quite high end, they float, but you don't really need that to get started, just any type of net. But what I would suggest you do is get one with the rubber meshes. If you get a net with rubber meshes, the hooks don't get stuck inside them as much. And the last thing you want to do is be wading out here, especially if it's like getting dark and stuff, and your lure gets stuck in your net, and then you're spending hours trying to go through it, trying to unhook it from your mesh net. So try and get the rubber mesh on the nets there. Okay, right, moving on to the rod and reel. There we go. So the rod and the reel, when it comes to lure fishing, I am a big advocate of just trying to get one rod that will do most things lure wise. So you can work top waters with it, you can work soft plastics, you can go off the pier, you can go off the beach, and for that I'd suggest something that's around about 8.5 foot long, and with a gram rating of around about, this one here is up to 45 grams, but that's actually quite heavy. I'd go for a 7 to 30 gram lure rod. It would be absolutely perfect. So a 7 to 30 gram lure rod that's around about 8.5 foot long, you can't really go wrong. I say check out the H2O range. The Nebula is the sort of the classic. You've got the Hooligan, which is really good value for money. This one here is a Pen Conflict. I can highly recommend these as well. They're about 90 quid, I think, these ones. Really, really, really nice rods, these. Don't know if you can see that there, Pen Conflict, but really nice rods. I do rate these as well. And then reels, 4,000 size reel, 3,000 size reel. To be honest, whatever fits in your hand nice. Some people like really small 2,500 sizes. Other people like bigger ones. I prefer a bigger reel because I'm a carp angler. It just feels more natural to me to have a bigger handle to turn. Some people like really small reels. Just find something that's quite light in your hand and balanced. You can go for a coarse fishing reel, like a match fishing reel. They're not saltwater resistant, so just make sure you rinse it out every single time. You don't want to dunk it. If you go for more of a saltwater specific one, then something like the Battles, the Spin Fishers from Penn, some of the Shimano ones, really durable saltwater lure fishing reels. But yeah, just to get started out there, if you are new to lure fishing, then I suggest just going and getting yourself like a 3000 size match reel, and just make sure you rinse it off, all right? And don't dunk it in the water. That's the main thing. Don't fully submerge your reel in the water. And on that note, I'm giving loads of tips here about things that you might want to go and buy. You might want to go and buy, a great thing to do is to go and get, I'm going to wade over to Ollie because he's got one. It's one of these little lure rod holders that you get off of Amazon. Let me come on over here to Ollie. Ollie, have you got your little rod holder? Where is it? Let's go and have a little look. Here we go. Right. So, this little tube here that you get on the belt, I think they're about 10 quid. And then all you do, I'm just going to borrow your rod holder. You just slot it in, like so. And just pull it out. Ollie's got his on his bag. You can put them on a belt. Just going to wave back over here, Ollie, so I don't disturb your fishing. But they're a really, really good thing to have. And yeah, if you are going to get, just something basic, then a little bum bag to go around your chest, sort of like wear it in front of you here, that's got your lures in it and your phone and stuff like that. Obviously make sure your phone's waterproof. But then wear the belt with the little rod holder on it. Okay, so you can put the rod in it. I stick mine in my little my bag here. Down in my, if I can get it in there. Oh, come on. There we go. So I put mine inside my waist belt here like that. But what it does, it allows you hands-free. So if you're tying up, putting a new lure on, leader, you're not dunking that reel in the water, which is really important. I say they're about 10 quid, I think, off Amazon, actually. You get the belt, it just comes with a few little clips and stuff. And on that belt as well, you can put your pliers. Now, it's important, yes, forceps are good. You're gonna need some form of forceps to unhook, but what I recommend is you go and get yourself some of these dedicated pliers. Again, not too much money, but on there you've got the little split ring nose. So you can open up split rings on the lures. You've got your pliers there that you can actually unhook the fish if you need to. It's got some braid cutters built in there as well. And the nice thing about these is that the handles are always open, so you can do one-handed operation. You don't have to, like with the forceps, when they stick together and you've got to open up and close them and stuff. These are really nice. And the other thing as well that's nice about these is, from a safety reason, is that, can you see, let me get them up properly. Can you see that they've got flat handles on them? So you're not putting your fingers inside the forceps holes. The reason you don't want to do that is that if you are unhooking a fish, you've got a bass or any fish, and you're unhooking it, and you clamp those hooks onto the forceps onto the hooks, and then that fish starts to spin or you lose control of it and it's flapping around, if you've got a decent sized fish and it's doing head shakes, you can end up damaging your fingers if you've got those forceps stuck onto your two fingers. So with these pliers here, they are, bring them back up, with the pliers here, you can use them one-handed, and obviously if you need to let go, get your fingers off of them, you can do. So that is a tip from G. Okay, and then, the other little tip as well is that make sure you've got your stuff connected on one of these little bungee things. Don't know what they're called. But a little key ring chain, those sorts of things. But just have it clipped onto something like that, so that when you let go of it, if it does drop in the water, it's just attached to your belt. All right, that's key. So it's attached to your belt. And then when it comes to your lures, I won't go through all my lures. There's no point going through that. But let me just make sure the camera's still on. It is. With your lures, what I suggest you do is these little boxes. They're great. About 3 quid, I think. They're the H2O lure cases. I think they're waterproof, but they're pretty much waterproof. But just get some little lure cases and keep your lures nice and safe inside these. These are a lovely size, these little H2O ones. You can fit your lures inside them. I've got one for my soft plastics and I've got one for my hard lures, and they slot into my little pockets here. They go in that little bum bag that I'm talking about. They go into my my bag here, my Orvis waterproof bag. And you want to have it so that you can get to your lures. You don't want to be faffing around trying to find your lures all the time. Final thing. Let's say the fishing's no good this morning, so let's do a little video about the stuff that you need. One very, very important thing that you're going to need is the braid. Okay, braid on your reel. The reason you use braid is there's no stretch in it, so you can work the lures better and you can feel the bites better. But it's really important that you have braid on your reel. Now with the reel, don't spool the braid up right to the very top. That's about definitely as far as you want to go up with your braid. You can get away with like a 2mm gap, under spool it by about 2mm, and that will stop you from getting all those tangles and bird's nests, okay? Braid wise, I'm using here, there's a 20-pound J braid, I think it is. Yeah, it's not whiplash, it's J braid. Spend some money, get some decent braid, okay? 20-pound J braid or 20-pound whiplash, a decent braid in about 20 pounds is going to be perfect for lure fishing. It's going to be perfect loads of fishing, to be honest. I use this reel off the boat and stuff. I'd use it off the pier catching fish. You know, 20 to 20. Actually, I think this one's 26 pound. This braid here, but it's so thin. It casts an absolute mile. It's strong. And say it's got no stretch inside as well, so I would definitely recommend getting some braid rather than trying to use mono. And then all you do is you just tie on to the end of it with an all bright knot, I think that's a 15-pound fluoro, and then I've got a quick link on there. You can see it just at the nose of my pachinko. There's just a little quick clip, and then I can change my lures really nice and easy. Someone once said to me, you don't want to put a swivel on there, so don't use a clip with a swivel because it won't allow the lure to work properly. So these spin clips, although they look very basic, they're actually designed for that purpose of attaching your lures and making your lures work properly. So just use a spin clip on them. I know they look like a paper clip that someone's bent up, but that might have been the original version of this, but that's what you want to put on there, a spin clip. So go and get one of those. But anyway, that is a quick run through of my lure fishing equipment. You can spend as much as you want. If you like nice things, then go and get nice things. You know, I've got this Orvis sling pack and my net. I love it, absolutely love it. But you could also go the other way and you could spend barely anything at all. Grab your waders out of the shed, go and get yourself a little starter lure rod, put some braid on your reel. To get that old match reel that you used to have when you were younger, put some braid on it, get yourself a couple of lures. And what I will say with lures as well is I'm not going to go into all the different types of lures that you could go and buy, but one thing I would say is that if you go and get yourself a good top water lure, so this is a Pachinko 125, that is my go-to top water lure. If they're not taking this off the surface, I'll switch to a soft plastic or a subsurface or a metal, okay? They're the 4 types of lures that I'd recommend. A surface lure like the Pachinko, a little subsurface lure that's going to work a foot or 2 underneath the surface, so a subsurface. Then I'm going to want to get a soft plastic, so I really like the Westin Sandy Andes. They're brilliant little sand eel imitations. And then what I want is a hard lure as well, so a metal. Now that metal is going to fly miles. You can work them just by a steady retrieve. I think I did a video bass fishing in Brighton, I think it was titled, but you saw me using a metal off the beach there, and they're fantastic for stands on the beach when you've got to cast a long way to the fish. They really are good. And Westin have bought out, I think it's the casting version of the sand eel, but anyway, Westin have got a nice one, or the go-to is Savage Gear Seeker. If you look up Savage Gear Seekers, they're casting metal and they're absolutely fantastic. Anyway, there you go. So there's some advice around my lure fishing setup because the water clarity is not there. I thought I'd do a little video detailing that. Hopefully you found that useful. I'm going to have a few more casts. I'm not hopeful. The water is so dirty that it's just not great conditions for lure fishing. When you're coming out and you're lure fishing for the bass, you're wading, really you want the clarity to be there. You want to be able to see your feet as you're wading out. That means that the bass can obviously be hunting by sight, which is really what you're doing when you're lure fishing rather than hunting by smell when you're bait fishing. But it's a nice way to get out of the house, have an hour or 2 with a mate, get a bit of outdoor time, a bit of you time. It's good for the soul, it's good for the mental health. You know, again, through these videos I'm trying to be a promoter of the mental health benefits of fishing. Like, I've not caught a fish this morning, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Am I a bit disappointed? A tiny bit. Have I had a nice time? Yes, definitely, because how can you not have a nice time when you've got the sun rising like that, you've got your mate fishing next to you over there, you're standing balls deep in the beautiful British Ocean? It doesn't get much better. And I'm going to get back home, I'll be in the office for 9 o'clock with a nice cup of coffee like I always am. But I would have done this morning. My head will be in a much better place than just rolling out of bed and just trying to caffeine kick myself into life in the morning. And yeah, I am a big advocate of getting out there and fishing to improve your mental health and well-being, because it definitely helps me, and I think it helps a lot of people out there. And you know, I do apologize if you've not seen a bass on this video. I'm going to try it, and I might even stick it in the title, you know, bass fishing at Brighton, warning, no bass, but some bass fishing tips for beginners, or something like that, because I always said I'd never do videos if I didn't catch anything. But I think that today, hopefully you've got some information, and the fact that I didn't actually land a bass for the camera doesn't detract from this video. But anyway, I'm gonna go. Take care everyone, hopefully you enjoyed that. Stay tuned. Make sure you do subscribe, please. Please help me by subscribing. Press that little button. Obviously it's free, it's YouTube. Just subscribe to my channel and press that little bell button, yeah? And then you'll get notifications of any more videos I do, and it really helps my YouTube algorithm, because I'm trying to kickstart this channel, and I'm trying to help people out there with some of my fishing knowledge to get started in the sport, or just to give you guys something to watch out there, and girls, when you're bored at home and the weather's not great for fishing and you think I'll just put YouTube on and see what's out there, and come and watch G. All right, take care people. I'm gonna have a few more casts and then head back, get a coffee and start work.